Part of what I'm going to teach you today is how to identify level ones and level twos. Okay, and then we're going to give you some tools on how to implement them for yourself and your loved ones. Level two, I usually skip for a minute. You'll notice level one, if it's drawn correctly, is just barely noticeable. Okay, remember the phrase, the serpent was the most subtle of all the beasts of the field. So some obvious chemical reactions of the brain, one of the most obvious ones is if a cop pulls up behind you with his lights on. Okay, if a cop pulls up behind you with your lights on, what happens to your brain? Now, notice what she said, you start to panic. She just told us what happens at level two, okay? Because most of us don't talk about what happens at level one. I just had a somewhat significant brain chemistry shift. How about you? Okay, how come we don't talk like that with our friends?
You know what? I walked into math class. My buddy said, "Are you ready for the test?" I'm all, "What?"
And he's all kidding. There's no test today. We just want to watch you freak out. Okay, when you tell a story, you say, I walk in, my friend says, where's the test today? And I had this significant chemical reaction in my brain. It was flooding in my bloodstream, and I found myself unable to recover from it short term, and my emotions started to take over, and it affected my clear thinking process. It's really good for husbands and wives too.
When you came in and asked me how come I haven't done the dishes, I had a substantial chemical reaction, and I found myself feeling slightly defensive. But I'm not going to be because I'm so mature.
Level one, we call the chemical level. We are chemically affected, but we can't tell we're chemically affected. This is like an alcoholic drinking one drink. Okay, they drink one drink, and what do you say? How are you? What do they say? I'm fine. Level two is when the chemicals build enough that it now becomes a feeling. You see why I skipped this for men? How many men amongst us have been asked, how do you feel? And we are confused by the question. I feel hungry. Wait, I feel tired. As I've studied men, I'm even including myself, we have the 8-pack color print box for emotions. Yellow, red, blue, white. Okay, how do you feel?
I'm blue. I'm sad. How sad? Sad.
8 emotions. Ask a woman how she feels, and she starts going through the 164 pack.
Well, it's a little bit of this, and there's some of this mixed in too, but I think if we shade a little of this in there too, we will get close to what I'm feeling.
And the guy's, could you just say red or blue? So part of the satanic strategy is to have you kind of wavering between the 0 and the 2 level. So no alarms go off. You're fine. It's kind of like sitting on a boat that you kind of coast like this. And it's not dangerous yet. We're fine. We're coasting. All right. Because if the alarm went off every time you had a biochemical reaction in your brain, okay, stop. Okay. We must memorize the pathway that the brain goes through that usually leads in this direction. All right, so whenever I have the idea to have a too quick response, I usually am having this feeling, and you said the word impatient. How does a 7,000-year-old genius get us to go down this pathway without us even knowing? There you are, minding your own business. Most of us are familiar with what I call amateur demons. Most of us have ridiculous temptations sometimes that pop in your head. You're like, no, I get the one, we should go get drunk. I suggested to Ruben earlier today, and he said no. So that's me not being a very good demon. And even if someone offered it to me, I would say no anyway, because I've never been drunk before, and this stuff scares me. So when demons come to me and say, we should get drunk, I go, no. But when they say, your son is a difficult human to spend time with, I'm all, now that's a thought worth having. So the first thing is what they often call intrusive thoughts, but they experience them, we call them a flash because they happen so fast. You can rarely tell you even had one because all you know is you just got a little jolt to your system. We talked earlier today about a depressing flash. It's too bad you're a loser, none of your friends like you. And by the time you can tell you've been hit, the chemicals have already been released and they spill into your brain, but we don't pay attention to that. So all we know is we just had a feeling. Now, when a demon is really good at what he does, he works to create a partial feeling. Your brain is full, is a giant filing cabinet of things you've been exposed to before. Whenever we get partial information, our brain seeks for something that replicates that until we find the matching item. Satan knows your brain does that and he uses it against you. Isn't that lovely? So he'll do a drip of chemicals, making you feel kind of like insecure, maybe a little insecure. And so you check your filing cabinet. Have I ever felt insecure before? Does that sound logical for me to feel insecure right now? And you have a memory of a time you felt insecure before. Or if you're parenting, you have a memory of the time the child didn't follow through last time. The memory of the child not following through last time flashes in the brain, which goes more chemicals in the bloodstream, thus intensifying the feeling. Causing a memory of the other time the child did not follow through. Just so you know, in the average human brain, this cycle takes 1/2 of a second. This is how you take that and you zoom it in. That's the satanic spin, right? Wouldn't it have been nice if someone would have told you that 5 years ago? All right, I'm very grateful for our prophets because the prophets have been referring to this. The only way I could figure this out is by studying conference talks. Conference talks have been hinting on this stuff for a very long time. Watch out for Satan, he'll throw ideas into your head. As a scientist, I've been studying the psychological process of how Satan affects the human brain. Sometimes with women, he often creates a little dam right here, and he just keeps building the negative emotion, building the negative emotion, so the pressure builds. And so we often have in women what we call the shaken pop bottle syndrome. How are you today? I'm going to start talking about what to do about this. Does everyone now understand a little bit more about what your brain goes through when it builds up to this idea? So when the idea to misbehave occurs, you've got all these chemicals in your brain. You're like, you know what? I don't care anymore. It doesn't matter to me anymore, et cetera, et cetera. And so when you're dealing with someone with some of the more significant or noticeable misbehaviors like pornography, et cetera, when the brain builds up pain, you're frustrated, you're irritated, nobody likes you, no one wants to talk to you, and it just starts ramping up. The ideas that come to mind are no longer rational, and it builds and builds and builds until people do things contrary to their value system. That's what goes on in every brain, from people who cheat on their spouses to people who are trying not to have a too quick response to their kids. It's the same process in all of us. So if you're ready to start having difficult conversations with those people within your stewardship, here's what I recommend you do.